Zach, Master of My Universe is a horse you're going to ride here at Purton for the first time. Two very good runs at Happy Valley. He's run second in both of them.
He has. He's a little bit of a victim of his poor barrier starts. He gets a little bit far back, and as we know at the Valley, that's never ideal, but for a horse that's only had a couple of starts, he comes through the field nicely and he has a bit of a crack. He just needs a little bit more time to wind up, so hopefully Purton with the longer straight will suit him.
Talking about sort of luck and barriers, etc. There was that bit of Purton wizardry last time, and from a wide draw, you got him into a fairly decent spot, it must be said.
Well, he walked out the gate, so I was able to cut across the back of them and get down to the fence, and we had a beautiful run in the race from there, but yeah, I'd prefer him not to walk out the gates like that.
Indeed. He's trained by John Size, of course. His horses are going well. He's sort of the typical John Size horse, isn't he, really, that just keeps progressing with racing. I mean, he looks a real nice type.
Yeah, you know, he's not overly robust, so he's going to continue to hopefully get better as time goes on. And you know, one thing he has shown that he's got a little bit of ring craft. He's been fairly good in amongst other horses, and you know, that's one of the biggest things to overcome when you're first starting off. So I think he's done a really good job.
He certainly has. You yourself have done an excellent job, especially on Boxing Day. Let's wind the clock back to Happy Valley's most recent meeting. We had the 10 races. You took 6 of them. Quite the evening, Zach.
It was. You know, the horses sort of, for the most part, drew well and were in fairly good form, so they were able to take advantage of that. And you know, they all turned up and performed at their best, which was great. And you know, it's just a shame I drew the outside gate in the last race, because with a barrier he probably wins too, but you know, I drew quite well on a few other horses that took advantage of those gates, so it levels itself out a little bit, but it was a great night and a great way to finish a year.
I believe, having read an article, I think it's about 14 years, and Brett Preble did the same feat, but that was obviously a day meeting.
It was. He teamed up with Casper Founds. Casper trained 6 winners. I think Brett was on all 6 of them, so yeah, it's very rare. Brett's only done it once prior to me, and you know, so many things can go wrong at the Valley, especially on the C+3 even more so, but you know, even on the A course you can draw well, but the pace of the race goes against you and you get shuffled and you can't get into it at the right time. It's a really tricky track, so to have multiple winners there is not easy, and you know, it's, like I said, it's a nice way to finish a year.
We're all following it, but it's a nice indentation into the Douglas Whyte record as well. I suppose it makes life a little bit easier going forward, having sort of knocked 6 off there on Boxing Day. Yeah,
so I'm not too worried about that. It's just a matter of time. It's going to happen. I was hoping to get it done before the end of the year, but I've run out of time. Hopefully we can get it done, you know, in the next few weeks. But I've got 15 or 17 winners or something to go. So I'm going to need to be at my best to knock that over in a few weeks, but I'll be trying to.
David, Fortune Warrior, a runner for you coming up on the weekend on the all-weather. Good effort last time, having sort of had to change tactics from a wide draw.
Yeah, he's a horse that we've been trying to sort of get to relax, and just so that he might be a little bit less one-dimensional in his races. So he got a really good, sort of clever ride from Alexi. We were keen to get him switched off. He ended up being quite a long way back, but you know, he closed off well.
I guess where he was drawn, David, I mean, 12, you sort of had to take your medicine, or Alexi did, and that was the way you probably had to ride him. Was your hand forced a little bit, I suppose, from there?
Yeah, definitely, particularly what we were trying to do. I didn't really want to push forward from the barrier and undo you know, the runs prior, trying to get him to relax. So he actually surprised me as to how well he did relax, and you sort of show the turn of foot that he does have when he did. So it bodes well, hopefully, going forward.
Yeah, and I guess the way he used to run his race, obviously made all to win one day as well. This is only he's only had a few runs for you now. Have you sort of seen that improvement since he's joined your stable? I mean, we know enough about him, but has he shown you all the right signs?
Well, I suppose he did the other day for the first time. I thought his second run had, you know, some merit. But as I say, I was keen to get him to relax, because he has actually won over 7 and a mile in Australia. So I'd like to get to at least 7 at some stage.
Yeah, absolutely interesting on the Aussie form. And I suppose just finally, he's £5 lower than his only win here as well. So you might just have a pound or two to play with. Would that be fair?
Well, yeah, well, obviously on figures that would suggest to be the case. So, you know, he showed last start that he's certainly capable of winning a race of this nature, and it made sense to come back to the all-weather. And I think 10 days for a horse that can race a bit fresh, and has now got 3 runs under his belt. So it's
Douglas Whyte, Strathpeffer lines up for you in the 1400 metre Class 4 race. You must have been pleased to get a second win with him last time.
Yeah, he's been as honest as the day's long. There's not much of him. He's a real pony, but he's all heart, and a lot's going to boil down to barrier draw. But I've given him a short freshen up. His trial over the 1,000 a week ago was satisfactory. That's standard for him, and his work yesterday morning was as good as what you get. So I'm happy with his form going into the race.
You mentioned he's all heart, Dougie. I mean, I went back and had a look at his win last time. I mean, if any horse really wanted to win on that day, it was probably him, because he really stuck his head out, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But if you look back at his form, he's bumped a few possible Class 3 horses that have ended up there, and he's just been a victim of circumstances with draws and paces. But yeah, he really does try.
And that trial you gave him, that was down the straight over 1,000. He came through it okay?
Yeah, he did. He's pulled up well. It was just to get the rustiness out of him and get him back on track. He hasn't raced for 6 weeks, so that was all it was.
Just going back through sort of the history books, if you will, Dougie, it's also owned by Mr. and Mrs. Ian Bruce, obviously long-standing supporters of the game in Hong Kong and in View. I mean, you've ridden winners for them too, haven't you? So it must be quite pleasing to train winners for them also.
Yeah, it goes back a long way. I've ridden a lot of winners for them, and they've been around for a long time. They're the old school of Hong Kong, and that's when I first came. I met Ian, and it's been a wonderful journey.
Frankie, Heroic Master, a runner for you down the straight at Sha Tin coming up. He hasn't been here very often, but it was a very good run last time.
Yes, not easy to find the happy early again. So this time I put him back to Sha Tin, 1,000 straight, because you can see he have one time finished second. So I just let him race, yeah.
Yeah, his form figures here down the straight, a third, a sixth and a second. So I know he hasn't been here very often, but he can run a good race here, can't he?
Yeah. You can see in Happy Valley 1000, always got some prize money for the owner. So I try to find the 1000 Happy Valley, but sometimes coming this month, no more 1000 Happy Valley. So I just put him short in, yeah.
And just reflecting on his run last time at Happy Valley, Frankie, I mean, he came from a long way back. He was making up some really good ground late. I suppose maybe a little bit closer in the run, he would have got that bit closer, but it was still a good running defeat.
Yes, the jockeys that report me, he just a little bit jump slow. So if he jump better, I think it should be really close, yeah.
Mark Newnham, full credit as a horse you're returning to the all-weather, and understandably so after his run last time.
Yeah, look, he was really good behind our other horse, Sing Dragon, who's a good all-weather horse. He's always shown in his trials that he likes the surface, but it was the first time to really give him a test. And he passed it with flying colours. He's worked well since, he's trialled well since. And looking at the entries for the race, it looks like it'll be a very fast-run race, so he may need to be adaptable as he was at his last start.
And I guess punters will read, obviously, through the form. I mean, that was a Class 2 last time, so a deeper race, and he was beaten by, as you'd have a good handle on the form, a pretty handy all-weather horse.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he's taken a couple of runs to get to his best again this season, but his last couple of runs have been solid, and he's in a race that looks suitable.
And I guess, just looking at it, I mean, Sing Dragon probably got first run on him. I guess if you match the pair of them up again, would there be much between them or not?
No, not much at all. And even going into the race, I didn't think much between them. It's that one just had established form on the dirt, whereas the other was first time. He probably just had his momentum slowed a little bit when he was coming between them. But, Sing Dragon's pretty hard to beat on the dirt.
He certainly is. And just finally, Mark, on that trial, was that just a matter of sort of process with a horse like him? That he obviously needs it just in between runs?
Yeah, look, he does. He's a big horse, so he does require a bit of work. And I just thought, that would just keep him well up to the mark for this race.